festival. You are listening to SGFR, podcast radio for the festival. Now broadcasting highlights and top picks, your tasty, tantalizing tease for this coming year.
Craig says now recording, which is excellent. Craig is a stalwart and a hero amongst heroes. And it is a joy to have everybody here. Thank you for coming together for this particular recording.
Hello.
Hello. Did everyone else want to shout hello at the same time?
Hello.
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 We need to work on our timings.
There. We should do some sort of 7-part harmony. Hello.
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 Hello there.
This is
General Kenobi.
how you doing?
Is this good content?
Terrible. It's about our standard, right?
Frank, you haven't listened to this before, have you?
It is now. Anyway, let's start with Frank. Frank, it is a joy to have you join us here in the interview suite for the Strange Games Festival Radio. Now, we're going to have you on the show again in the future because we originally booked you because we're all, well, you and I, two of us, are really excited about the soon-to-be released Terry Pratchett DiscWorld
Yes, absolutely.
RPG.
It was, in theory, being released in January, but has not yet been released yet.
Yes.
So I don't have anything to talk about. Well, not.
Which is why it's perfect. I promise you, you are not the first guest we've had on this show who we didn't actually know what they were going to talk about.
Andy, I'm just going to throw this out there that you would be fired from the Graham Norton show for this kind of level of antics.
Yeah, but, you know.
They're here to promote their book, but their book's not out yet, so they're just here for a chat, and then they'll be on again like in a month.
It's pre-promotion, James. It's a very valid media tactic.
Frank, I'm not angry at you. I don't want you to feel like you're being caught in the crossfire of money.
James, are you by implication angry at me?
I love how James has just woken up this morning and chosen violence.
I'm not angry, Andy. I'm just disappointed. But the saving grace is that we do have Frank on the show, which is an absolute joy as ever.
I think he does that most mornings.
Yeah, I'm not sure who decided to do this at 10. I should be asleep.
I've just woken up. Now, Frank, as someone who enjoys Discworld and enjoys role-playing games, but hasn't had any contact with the Discworld RPG, what do you know about it so far?
I'm very happy to talk about the Discworld RPG. Don't worry. Yeah, so I signed up for the Kickstarter, and so we get regular updates on it, but the actual thing hasn't been sent out. So I know how the system works and everything like that. I just haven't received the physical copy that means I can immerse myself in designing a game of it.
I'm interested in the system because I've been stung too many times by people going, we've made an RPG of this beloved franchise, and then I go, I'm excited, and they go, no, it's just D&D.
It seems to have enough distinction from D&D that I'm confident, and I think part of the way that it does it, I think, speaks really nicely to the silliness and chaos of the Discworld.
Absolutely.
So essentially, you have a system where every action that you're trying to take that requires rolling of a dice, you are rolling against the narrative. So the narrative, or narrativium, apparently, because it needs a fancy name, always rolls a d8. And then when you're trying to do an action, depending on what your traits are and everything like that, you can decide whether you're likely to be very bad at it, probably bad at it, probably good at it, or proven really good at it. And then that means you roll a d4, d6, d10, or d12, and you roll against the narrative. So it's kind of the idea that the world pushes on regardless, and you're trying to do your best to make changes in it, but that's difficult to do. And then there's also a feature that I really like is if you make a pun, then you can up your dice rating. So the example The example that they give in the book is, for example, if you've created a character that's one of the Watch, and it's got the phrase "long arm of the law," and then you're trying to do something, you can claim that you've got really really long arms, so that can give you an extra dice level.
Now, here's where I would have to ask the question: how good do these puns need to be? Because if you're playing with someone, for example, like Andy, who will just say whatever comes into his mind, be it pun or not, would you accept that?
I think
if
that's
you were running
GM
a game,
discretion, and my personal opinion is that the worse the better. And the bigger the groan around the table, the more likely I am to be nice about it. So if I have Andy in one of my games, then it's going to be absolutely impossible to play.
Andy's going to be
It's
unstoppable.
going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Andy's going to be rolling d20s. I once did run a game, not with Andy, but it was like a DM-less game. There were 4 of us playing, and I realised by accident that all 4 of us were like the people who tell rubbish puns.
Everyone was just groaning for 2 hours straight.
That is the joy of an RPG session for me, anyway.
And we didn't get through half the material in one session because we kept stopping to make stupid jokes. It was really painful. There was no joy to be had in that game. Because as someone who does that, and I'm sure Andy will agree, when you say one of those jokes, you say it because you want everyone to be like.
You get into a round. You get into a round where everyone's trying to one up the pun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, or like maybe even some mild amusement might be nice.
Rules for life.
When you do it with other people who are like that, they will groan because they're angry that they hadn't thought of it first.
If I'm ever quiet, it's because I'm trying to think of a pun.
Everyone, there's several times there's been moments where everyone is just sat in silence, and you know they're just trying to think of another pun.
Any tips? Sorry, carry on, James.
I was going to say, I'm always interested in like the dice rolling mechanics in role-playing games, because I often think that they can be like really heavily stacked against the player, and in some cases, like it's completely justified and it should be like that, but. Is this a game where you have to roll dice for like everything, or is it that you only roll it like when it gets to be like the like a very very pivotal moment in the plot?
It doesn't have to be pivotal moments, but I guess it's something that you're trying to do that actively changes the world, if that makes sense. So that's the idea of it being narrative. You're rolling it. So if the story is going one way and you're trying to push it in a different direction, no matter whether that action is big or small, then that requires you to roll against the narrative.
Fair.
It's interesting. I don't know how it will work in practice, but I'm excited to try it.
I will always happily try a new system, for sure.
Is the narrative something that comes with the campaign, or is it a narrative that's formed from, say, one of the existing stories in the vast not panopticon, but the pan universe that Terry Pratchett created for us, or is it something that has to be created by the DM, or for that matter, sort of a result of the joint storytelling of the participants?
Any of the above. I think you probably. My go-to wouldn't be to use an existing storyline from the world, because I think those. It would be a shame to change those. Because just of the brilliance that they have inherently, I wouldn't want to run something that changes them. But I think, anything that the GM creates or that you create in collaboration with your players.
Is the narrative just a nice new name for the GM?
I think maybe. To be honest, again, I haven't read the full book. I've only read the sort of mini descriptions of different mechanics that we get sent out on the Kickstarter email list. So I might be wrong, but I think that's essentially what it is.
I like that.
I'd like that. This is gonna like be a podcast where we just join Frank on their journey through learning about the game, then reading the game, then playing the game. It's lovely.
Evolution.
Yeah, so next time I come on, I'll have read the book, and then the time after that, I'll have run one game, and then the time after that, I'm booking myself in for 4 right now. By the way,
it's a very absolutely. Are you going to be? Oh, did you say you were going to try and run it at Strange Games?
Yes, I would love to do that. But I would.
Otherwise, I don't know. what the link is.
Phew. Yeah, why are we talking about it? If we had, that was the point. That was why we've definitely invited Frank to talk about it, because not just the festival. I understand, Frank, you might be coming to the camp out.
Yes, I am definitely coming to the camp out.
Excellent. If you need any volunteers to play the RPG out,
You're already on my list, Andy.
Yes, excellent. So, how do you imagine that might run? How does the story kick off? Do you have any image of the kind of opening sentences, the opening scenario to a typical game?
The short answer is no. The longer answer.
The longer
Okay.
answer is no.
The longer answer is. The longer answer is that. So I've watched one. So there was a pre-release on a YouTube channel that ran through a game of it that I liked watching, and I would recommend. I can't remember what YouTube channel it was, which is very helpful. But I've also been going back and reading through all of the Ankh-Morpork-based Terry Pratchett books and making notes of fun little features or stories that I think could be a nice center point to talk around. I've also been making notes of puns because that's a great thing to do to give me some inspiration, because otherwise I fear I won't live up to the Discworld. But essentially, I think it's once I get the book, I can have a look and see what they suggest. The example video that I watched was a Night Watch story, and I don't know if that's just because that's what they chose or if that's how they've set up the game that you are all Night Watchmen. I don't know that.
I was going to say, like, of all of the variety of Discworld stories, the Night Watch, like, I think lends itself the best to telling an adventure, like in an RPG setting. Like, it's a really good setup for being like, it's your job to go and fight crime. Like that
Yes.
works really well in my mind.
That is true, but then there's also ones like Masquerade, for example, where you're just in a big, you're in the opera house, and then there's a mystery afoot, kind of thing. So there are other options that aren't the Night Watch,
which is in no way, but oddly at the same time, in every way reminiscent of Phantom of the Opera. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's the point, Andy.
Listen, theoretically, there is a chance, a non-0% chance, that someone who's listening to this by accident or by malicious intent has no idea what we mean when we're talking about the Discworld novels. Does anyone here?
We should have done this at the start.
Well, no, it's okay. I mean, time travel is our friend. Does anyone here, in maybe either in less than 12 words or as a limerick, would you like to take the challenge of explaining what do we mean by Discworld?
Amazing
novels?
content.
I'll come up with a limerick if you give me 1 minute to sit in silence, but that's probably not very good audio.
Do it. We can cut the silence.
When Andy says time travel is our
Yeah.
friend, what he means is the editing suite is our friend. So we can cut out all of this waffle, and then it will look like you've just come up with a limerick off the top of your head.
I'm not cutting any of it. This is comedy gold. This is the best that fool's gold. But this is the best we get. Yeah, so I ain't editing nothing.
Yeah, also when I say editing suite, Andy does not know how to use the editing suite.
Andy doesn't, actually.
Frank, have you got a limerick, Frank?
Yeah, put the countdown music on. Great.
Actually, Frank, we could do that. The rest of us in this room could just say, Frank, are you ready yet? Frank, are you ready? Frank, are you ready?
The problem is he could, and indeed, if
No,
I were him,
right.
would mute the entire chat.
I'm considering it. I am considering it.
Oh, man. You're so practical. Anyone else want to have a go?
I can summarize, but it will be a very brief summary, and it won't rhyme.
Yeah.
The Discworld is a very big series of books written by the late and great Terry Pratchett, all set in the same world, which is the shape of a disc, like flat earthers, and each one goes through a variety of different characters all over the place. And is generally known for being hilarious and whimsical and magical and and is in the hearts of many minds and souls. They have tried to make live action versions. Sky have a few times as well, and
Yes.
yeah, and that with mixed success. And like within the actual Discworld, there's like little series of with the same characters coming back as well, and you will find that there are a lot of diehard fans.
So, are you ready yet, Frank?
We'll be waiting with
Not
bated
ready.
breath.
What I might suggest is if this if this radio session moves on, and then at the end of the whole thing, I can jump in with a limerick.
Yeah, but
It will be worth the wait, I promise.
Also, dear listeners, if you have any limericks you would like to submit, feel free.
Laura, thank you for that. I mean, normally I don't.
I literally just typed this into ChatGPT. On a world that's flat and quite wide, where witches and wizards collide, with death on the prowl and a troll with a scowl, each book takes you for quite the wild ride.
It's not going to be as good as Frank's.
Frank's would be better.
That's what ChatGPT did.
No, Frank's would be way better.
No, not. I thought that was awful, but as a baseline, that's the bar. It's quite low. All you'd have to do
Thank
now,
you.
Frank, is jump over it.
Frank, if you want, try and go under
I
it.
could go under it. That's a good
Yeah, have a dice.
It's not. It's not a limbo. It's a
limbo.
high jump.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That is a good pun.
give
Yeah,
the man a
have a higher
D20
dice.
or D12. D12.
Extra dice for your limerick writing roll.
Right, back to the whole Discworld thing. You've mentioned the city of Ankh-Morpork as the focus, the games that you might run. Any particular area?
That's actually the. Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Carry on.
No. Interrupt, please. You're much more interesting than I am.
That's the game is designed in Ankh-Morpork.
Oh, right. You know the board game Ankh-Morpork?
It's called
Right,
Ankh-Morpork.
which I played once, and you kind of play a different faction with a. How does it compare?
In the way that a lot of these things work, I think TTRPGs provide a lot more opportunity for for storytelling and for doing your own thing. And so I think that's a big draw of the game for me, is that ability to play in that world yourself. I think the board game is fun. And I enjoy it because it's got all the cards that you play with are all different characters from the world, and so that's really nice to sort of see that put down into cards and mechanics and different abilities and things. But I think actually for me the ability to play and explore in that world as a storyteller will be unparalleled, hopefully.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Sounds really exciting.
Can I ask you a real quick question, not about Discworld?
Yes, of course you can.
Cool. As this is a show that's meant to be about strange games, and you have been to strange games, I believe, at numerous times. What is your favourite ever strange games memory?
Oh, that's a really hard question.
Because you've never had a good time?
Because the whole weekend for me is the best weekend of the year. So
No, this is not. I will not let you cop out with that the coward's answer.
I think probably what cemented how much I love it for me was the first time I went, which was 3 years ago. And this was before I'd even joined any board game groups in Brighton, so I didn't really know anyone.
Did you come to the festival before we met you?
Yeah, so yes, I did. Because I knew Ben, who runs my D&D games. He's my DM, and he was telling me about it and that it was amazing. So I just kind of hitched a lift with him and turned up.
Oh, wonderful.
It was the fact that I didn't really know anyone. I sort of recognized a few people because, the nerdy world in Brighton is quite small. But I just kind of turned up, and the fact that having not signed up for anything, not knowing anyone, I just could sit down with a group and play some games that I'd never played before. And as I wasn't a particularly big board game person at the time, it was just fantastic. I remember playing Fury of Dracula on my second day there and being told that it was going to be an hour game, and it took us about 4 hours, but I just had the best time.
Oh, I love this.
That I think is the heart of the festival, isn't it? You come along,
Yeah.
you get
Fantastic.
greeted, you get drawn into games, and
It's certainly a story I've heard replicated
And
so many times. People who've come, they don't know anyone, they just leave having the best weekend, and they come back every year ever since.
Yeah, and that's why I'm really looking forward to the camp out as well, because I think, especially in the last 2 years, the toss up in my mind has always been between do the really, really fun organized stuff or just the ability to just sit down with a random group and play a game. And it's kind
Yeah.
of like no matter which you pick, you always feel like you're missing out a little bit on the other one. And so I think it will be really nice to have the camp out where it is just sit down with a group and play some games.
that was always I feel that more and more every year with Strange Games, that I feel like I'm constantly missing out on loads of stuff that I would love to do, because there's just so much going on, and all of it's great. And whenever you plan to do something, you miss out on like
Yeah,
20
absolutely.
other things that are awesome as well.
Frank, how forward did you have to be to get involved into various games? I'm thinking about anyone else who might join us for the first time.
Not forward at all, to be honest. I think it helped that I sort of recognized that I kind of vaguely knew a couple of people by sight. But to be honest, I think, I mean, when I played Fury of Dracula, I didn't know anyone in that group. I think I was just looking for a game, and there was people sitting down saying, we need one more player. And so I said, can I play? And then that was it.
That seems very forward, Frank. Very forward.
Possibly. I think I have moments where I just shut down all voices in my head and just be like, I'm going to ask to play this game.
I've only been once to Strange Games, but they had the little signs on the table saying, like, we need one more player. Has that always been a thing?
Yeah, I designed those a few years ago when we got bigger, because we used to be quite small. It was a lot easier for people to jump into games. And
boring.
when we went to the first time, we doubled to 250, and then we doubled to 500. I thought, well, we need these little ways of people to lure each other into games. So I made a bunch of those signs then. I'm really pleased to hear they're being used.
I really liked that. I liked being able to it was really nice to scan the tent and be like, oh, I don't necessarily have to talk to anyone, but I can see a sign. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that.
That's great. So thinking about the Terry Pratchett slot, the DiscWorld slot, knowing that we're going to get you back again in the future, Frank, and frankly, I, no pun intended, in really looking forward to hearing more. It's going to turn from the Strange Games Festival radio show to the Frank Hyde show. And I'm kind of looking forward to that.
It does feel, Andy, like you've just brought Frank on just to make sure that you could definitely get a space in the game that he's going to run.
Well, I mean, if we need to call it out, we need to make it really obvious, then yes, that's the case. But just wait till we get people on to talk about Battlestar Galactica. It's the same thing.
You're very welcome to play in the Discord game.
I can't wait for me to start getting some benefit from doing this show as well.
Benefit?
Wait, James, are you not being paid?
I thought you were.
Oh no!
I'm not being paid in any
I
way.
thought, James, you were here as part of your community service. I mean.
No, if anything, I think I'm going to have to do more community service for my crimes in this show.
Because I was trying to work out why you were wearing an orange jumpsuit, but okay.
They come really cheap. All you got to do is a robbery, and they give you one.
Whoa! Hey, top tip, everybody. So, thinking about closing out this section,
You've got
did you want to
finish
do
my
it? Have
section.
you come up with a limerick? Is that something we could just brush under the carpet, or?
I haven't come up with a limerick. No, unfortunately, I apologise for things.
In fairness, we've been talking to you this entire time, so it's understandable.
And I know that Andy doesn't like to cut content out of this thing, and I agree, Andy. I think we should leave this in specifically so that anyone listening knows how much of a failure Frank has been in writing a limerick. We all had such high hopes. ChatGPT's was awful. We knew Frank would save us, and yet they have not.
Well, I was thinking that I had the grace of waiting until Kat had finished their section to be able to do my limerick. I didn't realise.
You do, Frank. You do, and not only that.
Also,
but
let-
I
I
understand.
don't mind because it's a conversation starter. Because now everyone in my life is going to come up to me and
What
say,
a
"Have you
good
finished the limerick
icebreaker.
yet?"
No, Frank, you've overestimated how many people listen to
Yeah.
this.
Oh, Frank, I didn't know you knew Laura's mum.
I would like Frank to wear a
limerick.
t-shirt. I'd like Frank to wear a t-shirt where on the back it says, "Ask me for a limerick."
I've got a guy that can get that printed.
Well,
I will wear that T-shirt as penance for not being able to come up with a limerick in the
Hey,
allotted time.
as we know, Frank has got 4 appearances in total on this. I don't know if you call it a
Do we get
podcasting
one
show.
line
Sessions
per
come up with a good
appearance?
Yes,
threat.
that's exactly
Well,
what's
I'm
going
just-
to happen.
I'm just saying, if you at the end of the 4th one, if you haven't written as a limerick, then we will. I'm not going to put a full threat in here, but just imagine that I did.
Just imagine the face of disappointment.
There's a world on the back of a turtle. Through space, it really does hurtle. The world is a disc, and here I took a risk because I can't find more rhymes for turtle.
Very
Yes.
good. Very good.
Excellent.
And then it
Very
carries on.
nice.
It's got a second verse.
Oh,
Oh my
Ooh.
god.
Wow.
The disc world's got wizard and witches. The puns will have you in stitches. And then that's all I've got so far. I need another line.
oh.
Excellent.
Tune in for episode 2 to hear the rest.
To the thrilling conclusion.
You've been listening to SGFR, the podcast radio channel for the Strange Games Festival.
This season's hosts have been James, Laura, Andy, and Craig.
And if you'd like to come on the show, message us on the festival radio channel on the Strange Games Festival Discord server.